Guitar of the Week 15 has always confused me. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Gibson's Guitar of the Week was done up in 2007. They made up to 400 of each of the 47 different models. And it's a series I want to collect just because I want to see every single one in the same room and make a cool video about it. But until that day, you can check out the individual reviews as I piece together the collection, or you can check out this episode where I go over what all of them are. But today we're checking out week number 15, one I've never been a big fan of, mainly because it confused me as to why it existed. But let's see if looking at this will change my mind. So it's a blazing red finish that they called Firetruck red. It's got these cool mirror inlays. You've got a mirror pickguard, all the chrome toppers on our plastics. And then we've got some interesting looking Grover tuners to talk about, as well as a Gibson mother of pearl logo. So this is billed as a Les Paul GT. However, there was actually a model called the Les Paul GT done up in 2006. We had reviewed one of those in this episode right here. Now that one had ghost flames on it, which definitely matched the whole hot rod vibe of these instruments. They offered them in candy apple red, candy apple orange, Daytona blue, muscle green, and phantom black. And those metallic finishes are highly prone to getting finish checking on them, but since the GT was, muscle cars, stereotypically manly man stuff, Gibson partnered that release with the Gibson Goddess series, which was aimed more so towards women. You can learn all about these in this episode. And there was also an SG GT, which are infinitely more popular guitars because they're a little bit more unique, as well as all these other cool, crazy car ones that we'll eventually get around to documenting one day. So naturally, the existence of this one always kind of confused me because it's like, is it not the same as the other red one that they had already did? But no, it's not. This is not a metallic finish. This is, I think what they were really going for here is like Ferrari red, because it looks very similar to the Ferrari red customs. It's just they couldn't maybe use the brand name, so they just went with Firetruck red. But as far as everything I know about this model, everything else is the same except for the finish and not having the ghost flames. So kind of a lame guitar of the week, but if those other ones were a little bit too in your face, it gave somebody an option for something a little bit different. Or if you happen to have been a collector of all the GT models, well, at least it gave you a slightly different color. But originally, you get a nice little Gibson case here, an owner's manual, and this particular one has 2 different pre-packed checklists. However, there always was one redeeming factor to this guitar that I thought was kind of cool, because I'd been hunting a Year of the Dog Gibson Les Paul for a while. I always thought this particular GT looked very similar to it. As far as how they adorned them, all you need is like a silver doggo on this one, and then you almost have like the same guitar, minus the inlays and stuff. Now this one's a USA production versus a custom shop over here, but you can check out this video if you need to learn more about the Chinese New Year Les Paul. As far as the colors of the finish goes, the dog is just slightly deeper in red color, but very similar. So it might be an option for somebody who can't afford and or find one of these. Or you like the way that this particular one looked, but without all the Lunar New Year stuff on it. But to learn more about this one, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Well, after an hour of cleaning, it's starting to look good now. But to my dismay, the guitar that I bought that says no dings, scratches, or gouges, giant scratches right here, huge gouges underneath the tailpiece, chipped lacquer around the tuners. Buying clean examples for a collection online is really tough. But anyways, let's take a look at this for what it is. So basically, the theme of this guitar, besides being whole muscle car-like, is everything that could possibly be locking is locking. So let's start with our bridge and tailpiece. The reason why we have gouges here is because somebody was probably trying to get this bridge off, not knowing why is it stuck? Why is it stuck? It's because this is a locking Tone Pros bridge. So it has a set screw right here that you use an Allen key to tighten down. Now the whole purpose of that is some guys say it gives you better tone because this is locked to the post, it transfers vibrations more, but without a doubt, it makes it so your setup never changes, even when you're swapping your strings. But the back of the bridge looks like this. And somebody at some point in time just completely removed that set screw, so we only have half the locking mechanisms on this. And then our tailpiece is not left out on this either. You can actually see the Tone Pros branding right here by Goto. And the set screws are located on the side right here. I took this one out a little bit further so you can see, but basically it just goes through and secures it to that post. But now let's check out the pickups. You got these cool reflective chrome pickup ring covers, but the actual pickup ring is still there and it's black. That's a really cool side profile shot, the chrome on black. But it's a pretty standard Gibson pickup set. So it's the 490R in the neck and the 498T in the bridge. Then the circuit, we get 13.34K ohms for that bridge pickup, 7.74 for the neck, and the middle, just for fun here, 4.89. But here's what our neck pickup cavity looks like. Nothing too special. And then the bridge pickup cavity. This is just a regular two-piece maple top with a mahogany body. For the most part, these really are just regular Les Paul standards of the era, except for the cool finish, the ebony fretboard, and the cool inlays here. So this one being a 2007, that is the first production model year that featured chambering body weight relief. Now the original GTs, they did not have it. However, I'm curious if this one might actually have some sort of a weight relief, because my last one of these was 10 pounds and this actually feels pretty good, but I could not find the official Gibson spec sheet. But I did find a few used listings that said it was solid body. There really is no way to know for sure, but if it is truly a solid body, that technically makes it special for the model year that this one was produced in. The knobs are knurled metal ones, kind of similar to a Telecaster. They have that little dot on the top. But if you noticed, we actually have 4 conductor wiring coming out of this pickup. So yes, indeed, you've got push-pulls on this for coil splitting abilities. So you can get single coil tones out of these pickups if you wish to. Here's what your pick guard looks like. It's pretty cool. It's nice and reflective. It is a complete mirror on the back. But you see the texture right there? You can see it's actually impressing the finish right there. Now let's check out the neck. So ebony fretboard on a standard, that's kind of cool. But the mirror inlays, I don't know, I really like them. There's a few different models, like the Les Paul New Century, that also used these, but they were in a different shape. This was just a very fun experimental period in time for Gibson. But you've got the 22 medium jumbo style frets, 24 3/4 inch scale length, that width of 1.71 inches, that's actually pretty wide. And that increases to 2.1 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.89. That increases to 1.01 by the 12th. Here's that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret. You can see it just widens up a bit. It's actually quite rounded. And now here's where things get freaky. Have you ever seen that truss rod get used on a Gibson before? Normally, they look like this. They have the brass adjuster, but this is actually a dual action truss rod. That so far, I've seen them in the Les Paul GT series, this Guitar of the Week version, as well as the Gibson Money Bass that we talked about in this episode. Gibson is known for sticking to tradition, so I remember the first time I saw that, I really thought the guitar was fake. But you use an Allen key to adjust it. You'll also notice that the GT models have a white Les Paul model silkscreen instead of a gold one, and you've got the cool Gibson Mother of Pearl logo. And I told you if anything could be locking on this guitar, it would be. This series utilized the top locking Grover tuners, same thing that the Les Paul Goddess used. They're kind of like PRSs, you just line them up, you put the string in, you're supposed to pull it taut, then string it up, and it just automatically locks. But I just like the ones where you physically lock them on the back because you just know you've got it, so strings aren't going to go flying. Here's what it looks like if you do string it up correctly as a locking tuner. You should have no winds on the post. But I would highly suggest before you cut the excess string to give these a good tug, because if you don't, that's the reason I don't trust these tuners. I've had them just let go of the locking mechanism and then the string just goes whoosh. The other thing I don't really like about these is the fact that they stick up a lot taller than a normal Grover. Usually they stop about right here. The truss rod cover reads GT. Oddly enough, they did not mirror the whole truss rod, but you do have that metallic shine on the logo. Flipping over to the backside, there was a lot of buckle scratches back here, but thankfully my scratch remover got most of them out, but you can definitely still see some wear back here. But now we get to see an untouched control cavity, because the last GT that I had documented had some non-original parts. So we've got 2 Gibson branded pots, and then you have the standard push-pulls of the era. This is like what you'd find in the Buckethead Les Pauls. So slightly before they switched to the black-backed ones. But I told you, if something could be locking on this guitar, it would be. Look what we've got here. This is a locking output jack. So it looks like it says Neutric, but no, it's actually pronounced Neutric. In order to get it out, you have to push this red lever down, and then you gotta Find a way to also take that out using one hand. That's why I don't like these as an at-home player, but I can imagine on stage if you accidentally step on your lead, that can probably be a show-saving feature. But interestingly enough, these only mount using 2 screws on the edges, and these actually came stock from the factory with locking Dunlop strap locks. So this is one of those rare times that no, this is not a replaced part on this guitar. But just like the pickguard, you've got a cool mirror surface back plates. These ones actually still have the plastic over top of them yet. As far as the sides go, looks like we got the thin binding in the cutaway on this one. And you can see our binding. As far as the back of the neck goes, nothing too fancy back here. But you can see the back side of those Grover tuners we were talking about, as well as our serial number dating this one to 2007. All said and done, this one weighs 8 pounds 9 ounces, so that's a whole 1.5 pounds lighter than my last one. It could be that this one had choicer mahogany that didn't weigh as much. It also could be that this Guitar of the Week version does have chambered weight relief. I'm not entirely too sure. I'll have to watch the weights of other ones to see if these are all uncommonly light. So let's go ahead, plug this one in, and hear how it sounds. Clean tones are actually quite surprising on this one. I didn't really like my last GT, but this one, I am kind of digging it. So that neck pickup's nice and dark. And the bridge has a similar thing going on. It's not overly biting, it's got a certain darkness to it. Middle position's just somewhere in between. Actually has quite a surprising amount of chime as compared to your other 2 positions, but some of these coil splits actually sound pretty good as well. So your neck pickup. And the middle split. So there is a little bit of a volume drop when you do your coil split though. So you definitely have to compensate for that. All right, let's go ahead and kick on some dirt. Now that we know all about the guitar of the week, Les Paul GT, what are my final thoughts on this? I'm super happy I picked this up. I enjoyed this one infinitely more than my last one, but to be fair, that last one had some modifications done to it, so we didn't get to enjoy it to its full extent. But I just always thought this was a repeat of that exact same color, just without the ghost flames. But no, we learned today, it very clearly is not. It's just got its own vibe going on. And even though I'm not really into the whole muscle car culture and whatnot, I think this is a very sweet Les Paul with some very unique specs, like locking literally everything. So I get it, it's not for everybody. Generally these Les Paul GTs, they don't sell for anywhere near the kinds of premium as the other cool fancy car guitars, but I still would suggest them just because they have the unique specs like the ebony fretboard and everything else we learned about. So what's the fate of this one? Well, I'm really sad about the scratches and the nicks and dings that weren't disclosed to me, but I'm just gonna hold this one back until I find a better one as I continue my Guitar of the Week guitar collection. It's gonna take a couple of years, but we'll get there eventually. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, how about you check out another Guitar of the Week model? The Reverse Flying V? There's no way that can be a good guitar, right? Click here to see how wrong you are.